Good afternoon. It is Monday, February 26th. Welcome to the Transportation and Environment Committee. We have a full agenda today. We have 3 items, and we're going to go in a different order than what was publicized. We're going to start with the conversation about the Building Energy Performance Standards. Then we're going to go to the WSSC CIP, and then we'll go to the Department of Transportation and other related CIP budget items. So if all of the individuals, particularly those with the affordable housing organizations, if you all could come up for the first panel. Good afternoon. So let me just say from the onset that this is a continuing conversation about the Building Energy Performance Standards, a law that was passed a number of years ago, and in January the county executive sent over the regulations for this very large and very important framework to ensure that our buildings are greener and more energy efficient so that we can meet our climate goals, notably having 0 emissions in the county by the year 2035. And this is the second conversation we're having. The first conversation was back on January 24th, and it was with our healthcare partners, recognizing that our hospital systems are a very unique sector with very unique buildings that would be captured under this law and under the regulation, and we wanted to hear from them how the requirements to go green, or greener, I should say, would impact their work. The second conversation happening today is with our nonprofit affordable housing providers. We are in a housing crisis. The rent is extremely high for a lot of people, and we need to build more housing, and particularly more affordable housing. And I want to thank all of the work that each of you and your organizations do. And so we're going to hear a little bit more today how this overarching regulatory framework might affect the affordable housing industry. And then just looking ahead, on March 18th, we are going to be hearing from our biotech sector. We all know that Montgomery County is the 3rd largest biohub in the entire country, a fact that we are extremely proud of, and as we continue nurturing that industry, we want to hear from them how their physical infrastructure may be impacted by the BEPS regulations. And then we will pause our work because the council will begin deliberations on the county executive's proposed operating budget. That will come over on March 15th, so we'll have the March 18th hearing, and then we will resume work on BEPS after we pass the budget, so that expectation is in June or so. But rewinding, we're here today. We want to hear from an incredibly important sector about this regulation, about the framework, and so I appreciate all of you joining us today. I know that there is a Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee conversation going on right now that some of you might be needing to go to, so I'm going to ask Mr. Silverman if he could lead off his presentation, and then we can just go down the row.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your flexibility. And I know our president, Chelsea Andrews, would like to be here today. She's upstairs with the doing our CIP review. For the record, my name is Ken Silverman. I'm Vice President of Government Affairs for the Housing Opportunities Commission in Montgomery County. I really want to start by just thanking you, Mr. Chair, and the committee and the whole council for the collaborative and deliberative approach that you're taking to this really important issue. It is a priority that we share at HOC, and we've taken great strides, particularly in our pipeline of new construction and renovations. to really push as far as we can to make our buildings as energy efficient and carbon neutral as possible. We're really proud that one of the buildings at our Hillendale Gateway project is going to be Maryland's first net zero energy passive house multifamily residential building. There are some commercial buildings that have met that standard, but this is the first residential. So, very proud of that. But we do have a challenge with the size and the age of our overall portfolio. We have 50 multifamily properties in the county, wide variety of ages, and each of them is really a unique challenge in terms of assessing the energy efficiency and what it would take to get it to meet the higher standards that are contemplated. I think another major consideration that we want to make sure the council has front of mind is that the county, in collaboration with us, with DHCA, has made the acquisition and preservation of naturally occurring affordable housing through tools like the right of first refusal a priority, and so certainly having these environmental goals is another factor that when any nonprofit housing organization is evaluating, whether they can make it work to purchase one of these buildings. They're now going to have to look at ensuring that they can have the financing to meet these requirements as well. As I'm sure you'll hear from many of my colleagues here, affordable housing is, by definition, operating at a loss, and that's why we, spend so much time asking you for subsidies, asking all of our government partners for subsidies. So that is a major concern, that we just don't have the flexibility or reserves that for-profit developers might have, or housing providers. But we do have one silver lining, which is that a lot of the existing affordable housing financing tools, in particular LIHTC, does have the flexibility to be used for energy environmental upgrades as well. So when you have a LIHTC funded renovation, there is the ability to use that through that renovation to help to finance many of the upgrades that would be needed to make the building more energy efficient. It certainly does not mean that is enough resources to cover every building in the county or every affordable building in the county, so there definitely will be a major need for more resources, but I did want to share that little bit of good news. And we have not done a point-by-point analysis, but generally speaking, we feel that of the LIHTC renovations that we've done, afterwards they generally would be at a level that we think they would meet the BEPS standards. So I think that's positive. I think the place that we really, at this point, need assistance and consideration is either whether it's technical assistance or even potentially grant funding that would allow hiring a consultant or hiring even a staff position, just to assist with developing the baselines for our properties, to assist with developing these sort of building energy plans that are contemplated in the regs. And then I think the other point that we really wanted to make was that we hope that these plans will be at a high level and flexible, because, to be honest, the ability to look out and say, okay, in 2043 we're going to replace the boiler at this building, or XYZ. I mean, obviously over the course of 20 or 30 years, who knows how the technology could change, how the relative cost and benefits of different approaches could change, as well as just having the flexibility to be able to plan and frankly change plans based on the availability of those subsidies and resources that we rely on to be able to renovate our portfolio. So those were really the comments that we wanted to share with you. Again, we appreciate that both the law and the regs do recognize the special kind of condition of affordable housing in the county. And we really appreciate your willingness to continue to, take special consideration to balance these competing priorities.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Silverman. And if you need to go up to your other meeting, go for that. Thank you. We'll go down the line here, Ms. Redinger.
All right, good afternoon. And for the record, my name is Sarah Redinger, and I'm the Vice President of Community Development with Habitat for Humanity Metro Maryland. And as I'm sure you know, Habitat's a nonprofit that builds and preserves affordable homeownership in partnership with limited income families. I'll start by saying that Habitat is fully supportive of the decarbonization of residential buildings. We recognize that residential buildings contribute a sizable percentage of total greenhouse gas emissions. And it has been Habitat's policy for years to electrify all of our rehab homes and to build electric-only new construction residences. We've also been working really hard to launch a comprehensive home electrification program for low-income owners that combines electrification with weatherization and solar. We believe that owners of all income levels should be able to benefit from climate resiliency measures and the health and safety improvements resulting from removing fossil fuels from homes. That said, we also need to ensure that energy bills do not increase for limited income families, which is why a comprehensive approach that includes weatherization and solar and a comprehensive approach like BEPS is important. So Habitat also participated in or with the Department of Environmental Protection and the Green Bank for 2 years on an electrification cohort run by RMI and helped to provide input on the electrification rebate program as well. So while Habitat has followed the creation and implementation of BEPS, Habitat does not currently have any buildings to which BEPS would apply. But we have played a key role within the Montgomery Housing Alliance in helping to educate members on BEPS and some of the funding sources available to help affordable housers comply. There are several potential funding and financing options available to affordable housers through the Green Bank, including their really important technical assistance program, and also through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development and the Maryland Energy Administration. And as many members have not yet started benchmarking, I don't know that there is a clear sense of the scope of measures that will need to occur. Measures will also need to be building specific, so getting a good sense of cost and whether there are enough funds available from these sources is a bit murky. While it is helpful to have several funding options, affordable housers will likely need to layer multiple funding sources together to finance improvements. And in our experience, it can be incredibly challenging to layer funds that have different timelines, different approval processes, requirements, and goals. So I would strongly encourage early and continued collaboration between agencies to make this process as seamless and unified as possible. As need and interest in technical assistance grants and decarbonization funds grows, we encourage the council and the state to stay in close communication with the departments and organizations providing financing to ensure they have the staffing capacity and operating funds needed to deploy their funds. And finally, while Habitat doesn't have any buildings to which BEPS applies, that doesn't mean that BEPS will not affect homeowners. Habitat is acutely concerned about lower to moderate income condo buildings that need to comply with BEPS. Many condo associations in the county already struggle to keep their necessary reserves for ongoing maintenance and repairs. Complying with BEPS will increase funds needed by associations, which will likely lead to higher monthly dues and special assessments. Some homeowners already struggle with high condo fees, and increasing fees may risk foreclosure for limited income families. So we must ensure that financing tools can meet the unique needs of condo associations and their owners, which may mean layering longer-term funds and grant dollars. Habitat actually partnered with the Green Bank and the Department of Housing and Community Affairs and the Department of Environmental Protection on a prize application to the Department of Energy, and it was focused on helping condo owners in equity emphasis areas comply with BEPS. Our suggested program would have combined technical assistance from the Green Bank, grant dollars from DOE for in-unit electrification, and financial education from the Common Ownership Communities Department. Unfortunately, that application wasn't funded, but I use this to demonstrate creative thinking to finance condo buildings to ensure that we meet the important goals of BEPS, but do not cause the displacement of owners and the loss of generational wealth. So again, I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Redinger. Next, Mr. Dorian.
Okay, thanks. My name is Todd Dorian. I'm the Vice President of Strategy and Sustainability at Victory Housing, and thank you for allowing us to share our perspective. We are a nonprofit that serves as a housing development arm of the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C., and we're headquartered in Montgomery County, and about half of our communities are in the county. We're one of the more experienced affordable housing developers in the D.C. area, and we have 36 affordable mixed-income communities, and almost all of them are focused on seniors, and including 6 assisted living communities. And Victory is very committed to promoting environmental sustainability throughout our portfolio. We've completed the last 6 properties we've completed were LEED certified, And we are in the process, we just joined the U.S. Department of Energy Better Building Challenge and pledged to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 50% and cut our energy consumption by 20% over the next 10 years. So we are definitely strong supporters of BEPS and to address the climate crisis, and we definitely applaud the county for being a leader. With that in mind, there are 3 areas I was going to highlight for the council just to make sure the regulations don't negatively affect our ability to continue with our mission. The first one is financial support. So on a set of projects that we were evaluating as part of our efficiency efforts, we took a look at the overall cost to install the new HVAC, lighting, and other upgrades, and it ranged from $26 to $61 a month for each resident over the 15-year period of the investment. Obviously, this is a significant expense as some of our residents in independent living may only be paying $300 a month in rent. And this is for buildings that are already fully electric. So for buildings where we need to convert from gas to electric, the cost obviously could be significantly higher. So therefore, we think it is critical to have sufficient funding either for upgrades or the technical support through state and or county so that we can make the investments we want to comply with the regulations. And again, we want to do this faster than that are required by the law. So any help in that is obviously critical. The second area I was going to highlight was the solar renewable energy credits. We are very committed to generating as much solar as possible from our buildings, and we currently have plans to install 14 solar arrays on our properties, in addition to 6 that we already have. So basically all of our portfolio will be solar that can be, and about 10 of those are in Montgomery County. But like in many other nonprofits, to fund the solar arrays, we're using a long-term power purchase agreement, and to do that requires financing the solar renewable energy credits. So as a part of that, and I know there were roundtables earlier in 2022, but we want to emphasize that we support the county, or support the recommendation, to provide the full allowance for any on-site renewables. Again, irrespective of whether we retain them or not, we think it's a benefit to have the solar in the county, and again, we need those the financial support from selling the RECs to build those arrays. And then the third point is related to reporting. In this one, there's really, I think there's a better need for coordinating with PEPCO for all buildings. To comply with the law, you need to get your data from PEPCO, and it's taken us 6 months to get our data from them, which is crazy. And we still don't have it for a handful of properties. And it's just been a huge time and effort commitment for us to get that data. Fortunately, we were able to get some support from a consulting firm through the Green Bank, which was greatly appreciated. But again, the amount of effort just involved in getting the basic data to know what our baseline is has been a lot, and to think that it's happening to every single property in the county is just, something needs to be done. Any help to fix that would be great. So those are really the 3 things, and again, we really, I think we're strong supporters of the regulations, and thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, sir. Next, Ms. Prestel.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Prestel, and I'm the Executive Director for Housing Initiative Partnership, HIP for short. We're a nonprofit affordable housing developer and counseling agency. We have offices in Germantown, We staff the Financial Empowerment Center in Gaithersburg, and we have an office in Hyattsville. We've developed just under 500 units of affordable rental housing and over 100 homes that we've sold to first-time home buyers. We, too, have a huge commitment to energy efficiency. We have always prided ourselves on being a green developer and looking to push the technology forward and have those improvements impact the, hopefully, what's affordable for our homeowners with energy usage. I would say we have 3 areas that we would love for the council to focus on. One is the technical assistance. I think the continued support that you have for the Green Bank and other ways for technical assistance would be hugely helpful for developers such as HIP to really implement the BEPS that we need to have. And with the benchmarking, it's very technical in nature, so the expertise is greatly appreciated. You've already heard 2 being resources. Affordable housing is challenging. We were, with COVID, we've certainly had a hit with our rents and as our families have struggled. So the income coming into our communities has gotten tighter. Our reserves are tight. And so as we look at financing the BEPS initiatives, we just have to be really thoughtful about how we layer resources, how we're utilizing the funding that we have within the communities. And third, I wanted to second what Sarah was saying about home ownership and condos. We do a lot of housing counseling work, and we work with a lot of owners of condos who have gotten behind on fees, who have been hit by special assessments. And so when there's the potential for additional special assessments for our lower income condo owners, we have great concern about that and making sure that we're getting good education out to our homeowners and providing technical assistance to those condo associations as they also look at implementing these programs. I'd like to say the other piece that with education is also with community solar. So we've been really involved with connecting our low-income residents, both in Prince George's and Montgomery counties, to existing community solar initiatives to have lower utility costs as well as certainly cleaner energy. So we very much support the direction that the county has gone and impacting greenhouse gases and energy efficiency, and hope to have continued communication with the agencies and the council on how we can best implement a somewhat technical process, but one that's very good for all of our futures. Thank you.
Thank you. And rounding out this presentation, Mr. Goldman.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Goldman. I'm the president of MHP, one of the largest nonprofit providers of affordable housing in Montgomery County. We own about and manage 26 multifamily properties in Montgomery County, and about 11 of which will be subject to BEPS. We, like others, like to consider ourselves a green developer and support the general thrust of what BEPS is trying to achieve. In fact, even prior to the passage of BEPS by the County Council, MHP had been undertaking efforts to improve energy efficiency across our portfolio. Obviously, BEPS has accelerated our efforts. For example, in the last 12 months, MHP created a sustainability program manager position, which will be responsible for coordinating MHP's efforts to enhance the energy efficiency and sustainability of our multifamily buildings. MHP is fortunate to be able to do this, to create sort of a part-time position for this, but not all affordable housing providers will have this ability. I and others at MHP have been, we've been following BEPS since the legislation was first introduced, but there's, just a lot we just don't know. Right? We've been active participant in the Building Performance Improvement Board and attended countless meetings and webinars regarding BEPS, yet we oftentimes come away with, lots more questions than answers. So, understanding BEPS is made all the more important thanks to kind of the state of Maryland having its own BEPS law, which has sort of a different benchmark criteria, and in some cases stricter energy use intensity targets. So due to the complexity of these overlapping laws, MHP is identifying industry experts to brief our sort of entire staff on the specifics of the county and state BEPS laws, as well as the impact on MHP's buildings. And, it's difficult for us to speak definitively on BEPS prior to the completion of the initial benchmarking, but generally speaking, it is significantly easier for affordable housing providers to implement these improvements as part of sort of a scheduled renovation or recapitalization at a property, but very difficult not when it's not done during that time. It becomes very difficult to make these improvements. For instance, one of our properties that fails under BEPS was renovated in 2019. So typically we do not take on another substantial renovation at a property for another 15 years. So there are some unique considerations for affordable housing providers, and like the others, I've broken them into three categories. Affordable housing providers, we're restricted by our lenders and investors and how much we can borrow and how that money can be, what it can be used for. That is why it's especially critical, as I said, that affordable housing providers can incorporate the energy efficiency improvements as part of an already planned renovation. Several of MHP's properties that are subject to BEPS will be recapitalized and renovated in the next year, and these efforts need to proceed, whether with or without BEPS, and we just don't know yet if the improvements that are planned will bring the properties into compliance with BEPS. Second, we urge the county, as others have said here, to provide funds for the implementation of this program, especially consultants to help us on technical assistance, conducting energy audits, helping us to apply for federal and state funds. And we just urge the county to put together a broad effort to provide technical assistance, and we appreciate the efforts that the Green Bank has done to date. But I would also say that at the end of the day, these energy improvements will require money, right? And as affordable housing providers, we can't just increase rents to cover the cost of loans to pay these improvements. And so I would encourage the county needs to set aside money to pay for these improvements. I do believe we can leverage state and federal money. So that's really critical. There's sort of a pot of money out there now, and we feel like we may be losing that opportunity if we don't act fast, don't have technical assistance to help us sort of leverage those funds. And then lastly, the county, last thing I would say is the county, I think, could play a larger role in helping us advocate for changes at the state level. For example, while solar energy is just one component of the building energy performance, Maryland's SRECs, or solar renewable energy certificates, are significantly undervalued compared to DC's. DC's high value of SRECs are enabling MHP, for example, to do solar at a couple of our DC properties, reducing energy bills, helping us to actually replace the roof and do other improvements. And Montgomery County has a few properties that are sort of on the PEPCO DC feeder line that can tap into it, but the vast majority of Montgomery County's properties don't. And so it's relying on Maryland's SREC values, which are just far less than in DC. And so I would just encourage county leaders like yourselves to sort of help elevate this issue with our state leaders. So again, I thank you for just your willingness to reach out to us, the affordable housing community, and get our perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. Thank you all for sharing your perspectives today. We've been taking notes, our staff, and DEP is in the back, and they've all been taking notes as well. As I shared, the next conversation we'll be having is on March 18th, and it will be with our bio-life sciences sector, and then we will have a few more conversations thereafter as well. Colleagues, any comments? Councilmember Stewart? Or Councilmember Balcombe?
Sure. Thank you. And thank you to everyone. This has been really great to get this information, because as we started looking at this, we have conflicting priorities. affordable housing and environmental sustainability, and we have to figure out how that's going to work. The idea of technical assistance, Mr. Goldman, can you just talk about what that would look like and how how the county can help you specifically with that?
Yep. I think there's sort of two elements. One is just helping us, like, we need to do energy audits and other things. Two, just advising us on, okay, now that you have these energy audits, what are your systems, what can be done or should be done to get you in compliance. There's a ton of sort of people who are selling us things, and it's hard to know who to trust and who's selling you something or who's giving you good advice. And so getting some sort of third-party technical assistance that can look at your portfolio and say these are the things, either comprehensively or building by building. Second would be helping us. I sort of skipped over because my testimony was long, but there's another element of, like, we've been looking at some of the federal money that's available through the infrastructure, IRA, Inflation Reduction Act. These are complex, federal grants, right? And we're no experts on these, right? And while I have grant writer dedicated to writing grants, this is sort of beyond her ability to kind of, put something together. So, some technical assistance in helping us put together grants would be also very helpful, so that we can tap into, like I say, it's going to cost money, and if we can leverage other pots of money that, outside the county, that would be very helpful.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councilmember Stewart.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's here today and all the work that you all are already doing, even before we have these regulations in place. I know firsthand much of the work that many of you doing, because every single one of you had a project when I was mayor in the city of Tacoma Park. And so it's awesome to have you here and to continue that work and to hear from you and what you need to advance that. And I would just say, I think we've heard loud and clear, particularly on the technical assistance, and I'm glad that all of you have been working in some capacity already with the Green Bank. I know I'm looking back at our Department of Environmental Protection. I see a lot of head nodding and understanding of what you all are talking about, and so I just want to say thank you for the partnership and look forward to continuing it.
Very good. Thank you, colleagues, for those comments. Thank you again for spending your afternoon talking with us. We'll certainly be in touch as we work through this process, but appreciate all the work that you do in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is a work session on the FY25-30 Capital Improvements Program for the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission. So if all the WSSC team can come on up. We got room for you, commissioners. Okay. Before I turn it over to staff, I'll ask Chair Bayonet or Commissioner Foster if you have any things you want to say. There you go.
Lady Vice Chair.
Well, good afternoon. I just wanted to say thank you for inviting us this afternoon. We're looking forward to getting your input on our upcoming CIP. I've looked through the analysis. Keith has done an excellent job as usual, and we're just here today to support our excellent staff.
There you go.
And I guess the only thing that we take brownie points on is, I know you've been told that our AAA bond rating was maintained by all three rating agencies and that Fitch removed the negative outlook.
Very good. That is good news. I'm sure we'll hear it a few more times over the course of this panel discussion. But thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Mr. Lubchenko, turn it over to you.
Yeah, I have some slides that get me through my presentation or my staff report.
But I did want to give WSSC leadership a chance to provide some very brief highlights for the CIP. I put up one of the slides that's in the packet here that I think they can walk through pretty quickly, and then we can get through my packet, I think, in a time.
If you think it's easier for them to tee us off?
Yeah,
Okay.
have them start it off, and then we can, assuming we finish with that, then I can get us through the packet.
Very good. Turn it over to you.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Timothy Musara, Chief Financial Officer. We appreciate the opportunity to come and do a quick, brief presentation of our capital budget highlighted initiatives. I'll turn it over to Sunil Pandya, who is our capital budget section manager, as well as Rosanna LaPlante, who is our acting chief engineer.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Sunil Pandya. I'm the capital section budget manager. I would like to highlight some of the investments we're making in the FY25 CIP. In addition to our substantial investments in water collection and water distribution, a few highlights that do stand out is we're investing $25 million in our Anacostia Depot reconfiguration. We are also investing $6 million in PFAS. We are actively engaging in regulations, we are actively testing, and we are actively developing a holistic master plan for water treatment, as well as reviewing various PFAS activities across the country. We are investing $1 million in generators to ensure that our operational reliability and resilience is maintained. We are adding another $10 million in our engineering support program, which effectively addresses unscheduled investments that are required, as well as makes certain small investments which could turn into larger CIP programs. We are investing $1 million in a comprehensive facility plan so that we can review all our assets at all our facilities in line with our assets at our various other processing facilities. We are also leveraging external funds to secure electric infrastructure charging infrastructure, as well as electric vehicles to introduce in our fleet. And finally, we are transitioning our capital improvement planning for the upcoming 26 to 31 CIP to a needs-based model, which will essentially reflect the CIP budget to be more in line with our historical actuals. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Rosanna.
So for the record, Rosanna LaPlante, Acting Chief Engineer. So I don't have anything specific to add to what he has said. This is really a good summary of the highlights. If there is any questions you have on specific projects, I'm definitely here to answer any questions you have.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Pandya and Ms. LaPlante. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Lovchenko.
Okay. So I'm going to go quickly, but pause me if you run into something that you really want to focus a little bit more attention on. First, we have a couple of commissioners here today. I saw Fausto and Eloise. I think Howie Dennis could not make it today, but he is listening in or viewing. Senior leadership, we have a couple of senior leadership folks here, some new staff. So we have some new faces here today, including our Chief Financial Officer and Acting Chief Engineer, and Mr. Penge is also fairly new to this as well. I've got some very general, quick information about WSSC Water on this slide. The one thing I just want to emphasize is that this is a very large water and sewer utility. Thousands of miles of underground infrastructure, and also many, many above-ground facilities that require maintenance. Therefore, it's expected that you would have a very large operating and capital budget to maintain all of this. This is a picture of the Potomac Water Filtration Plant along the Potomac River. Definitely worth a visit by committee members at some point. Let me know if you ever do want to visit the plant. I'll work with our WSC Water folks to do that. And also we have a number of wastewater recovery facilities, several in Montgomery County and several in Prince George's. But I also want to note early on that much of WSSC Water's sewage and the vast majority of Montgomery counties in particular goes to the Blue Plains Wastewater Treatment Plant. So you will be seeing in the slides today those projects. We have representation on the DC Water Board, but we also, much of this is based on an intermunicipal agreement that establishes the cost structure on the capital side and on the operating side. So in the short run, at least, a lot of those costs are what they are. We receive information from DC Water on their budget, but in the mid and longer term, we have some influence over that through our board membership and through more work internally with DC Water. This is the Seneca Water Resource Recovery Facility. Just take a look at the size of this, and then here's the Blue Plains facility. So Blue Plains facility is just a massive facility. Once again, worth a visit by committee members at some point. People from all over the world visit this facility. Real quick on the timeline for this budget, or for the WSSC Water operating and CIP. It's a little bit different from county government. The WSSC Water CIP actually came over back in late September. And also unique to WSSC Water, we have a spending control limits process. They're not part of the county's overall spending affordability guidelines that we talk a lot about with regard to general obligation bonds. We have their own process that we've established with our Prince George's counterparts via resolution. So it's not a state mandated process. It's a process that the two councils set up many years ago with the intent of providing guidance to WSSC Water as they move forward to develop their operating budget. Then we get into a bit more of a familiar process. We have the county executive's recommendations that come over along with the rest of the county government budget and the other agencies. WSSC's projects are part of our public hearing process here in February. I've noted on this slide also we did or will be expecting to receive very shortly a mid-cycle update from WSSC Water. And we didn't have time to turn that around for today's meeting. We'll take that up most likely during the operating budget discussion. And in fact, the Prince George's Council tends to do the CIP and the operating at the same time in April, so that won't really set us back at all. And then we also did recently, the Commission approved transmittal of its operating budget to the Council. So we will be seeing that shortly as well. And then, of course, April, early May, we'll be taking up the operating budget and then making final decisions at the bi-county meeting. It would pay for itself in a number of years through improved water quality coming into the plant, meaning reduced chemical requirements and other reduced processing costs. It'd be interesting to see how that looks now. Now, there are other reasons to consider this project. Having two intakes provides a lot of flexibility and redundancy. If there's a pollution event in the Potomac River, it may affect the edges of the river or it may affect the center of the river. Having two intakes, one at the shoreline and one in the middle, gives you that flexibility to draw where the water is available. So there's certainly an operational benefit, but it would be helpful to understand the full range of costs and benefits based on a more recent analysis for this project. So staff does recommend some language in the PDF regarding this, and we'll certainly work with our Prince George's counterparts to see if they're amenable to that. Another very large ongoing project in the CIP is the Large Diameter Water Pipe and Large Valve Rehab Program. It's had ups and downs over the years, but it's been a major, it reflects a major investment in the larger water pipe infrastructure, in particular the precast concrete cylinder pipe, or PCCP. That pipe is the kind of pipe that when it fails can fail catastrophically, as the county has seen. We had a major pipe break along River Road about 12 or 13 years ago that made that area live up to the River Road's name. We actually had actual flooding. People had to be rescued from their vehicles. And Prince George's County has had other incidents like that as well. Fortunately, those incidents have declined greatly over the years through WCC Water's efforts to both rehab at-risk pipe, but also install acoustic fiber optic monitoring in these pipes that provides an early warning. And we've had a number of near misses that have been have helped us avoid future catastrophic failures. So this is the capital side of that work, going in and rehabbing those facilities that are identified as in need. So it's been identified as one of, if not the highest priority in the CIP for the two counties. Another project more recently added to the WSSC Water CIP is the I-495, I-270 traffic relief plan pipeline relocations. This obviously came about when the project to expand these roads for high occupancy toll lanes came to be at the state. WCC Water quickly identified that the expanded right-of-way required would affect their infrastructure and identified order of magnitude costs associated with that and has been working closely with the state over the past several years to affirm that, as promised by the prior governor, that no taxpayer or ratepayer revenue would be used to would be needed for these projects. Equivalent here, the assumption is that this work would be paid for out of the concessionaire revenue or whatever revenue stream is created from these projects. Now, of course, these projects have since become a bit more uncertain in terms of timing. So these numbers are obviously dependent on the timing of the project. But no ratepayer money is assumed in them at this point, but we do want to make sure that the project is in the CIP and reflects our understanding that that is the way it would remain as it moves forward.
I'll just jump in real quickly to accentuate the point that you just noted by recognizing that in FY25 there's a 64% decrease in the proposed expenditure, presumably because of the uncertainty with the project.
Right.
Okay.
And just like with a lot of other developer-funded projects, there may be a lot of optimism that something's going to move forward, and then you're there next year and things are where they were before. So we'll just have to continue to monitor that.
Great. Thank you.
The trunk sewer reconstruction program, this is the large sewer reconstruction program, sort of the companion to the large diameter water pipe program. It was It reflected a major investment of resources to meet WSSC Water's other major consent decree, which had to do with eliminating sanitary sewer overflows. And there was a tremendous amount of work across the district that had to be done. WSSC Water estimates it spent about $1.6 billion across many sewer sheds and affecting, as it says in the slide, about 1,000 square mile area. So all of that priority one work is completed. Work is continuing on other assets that were identified as part of that, but we're looking at more of a steady state of work down the line as the consent decree work has worked its way through the CIP. But once again, it's a major set of assets represented in this project. And so these numbers are always going to be, very substantial. I think this is the largest big project in the WSSC Water CIP that has a beginning and an end, the Piscataway Bioenergy Project. And it was put in place, it's been now about 7 or 8 years, I think, as WCC Water's long-term solution to its biosolids needs. Traditionally, WCC Water's biosolids, which are created through its wastewater treatment processes, or a result of, have to be trucked out for land application. And they're sent out as a Class B biosolids and require fairly strict permit requirements wherever they are applied. And over time, those permit requirements can increasing the costs or in some cases, areas that had accepted biosolids will no longer accept them. So there's a high risk to that. And as I mentioned earlier, DC Water pursued a similar project to greatly reduce the volume of biosolids, and with the biosolids remaining after these processes, you have a much better product, a Class A product, that can be sold in a retail environment, such as a Home Depot. And so you not only reduce volume, but you also have a much easier means of distributing the remaining volume. And also, as part of this, you have a energy generation component through the anaerobic digestion process. And so there is there's a revenue generated and a clean energy generation as part of this. The project is so expensive that you're not looking at a short-term payback, but given that most of WCC Water's projects have zero payback, it is nice to see a project that does have a significant cost avoidance factor as well as ongoing revenue benefit. So this project is working its way through. So while the project itself is essentially flat in terms of its total project cost, you have a fairly significant decrease in what's left in the 6-year period. You already heard about the Antios II wastewater pump station upgrades. This is the largest pump station in the system, and the flows from it do go to Blue Plains, but it's had some significant investments needed over time to modernize the plant. Then this is the list of the information-only projects I mentioned earlier. I wish there was a better term for it. These are still recapitalization projects, bond-funded projects, but they don't fit within the CIP definition that I mentioned earlier. And the Water Reconstruction Program is one of the biggest. This is the small diameter pipe. We talked earlier about the large diameter pipe. This is the smaller diameter pipe, an estimate of over 4,500 miles of these. And WSSC's goal for a number of years has been to try to have a 100-year replacement cycle, which would require getting to about 50 miles per year. They actually did get to that a number of years ago, but due to cost concerns or fiscal issues in the CIP and the operating budget, they have had to trim that back over time. They are looking to ramp that back up, and so you can see some of the numbers here. They're looking to try to get back up to 50 miles per year by the end of the 6-year CIP cycle. They're also looking at technologies to better identify at-risk pipes. You heard about on the large diameter side the acoustic fiber optic monitoring, but there are some technologies available also for the small diameter. If you're not able to meet your 100-year replacement cycle, then you at least want to make sure you are targeting those fewer miles you are doing in the right places. So this is an ongoing project to continue forever. Very, very large numbers in it. And on the sewer side, you have a similar project looking at rehabbing the 5,700 miles of sewer pipe, the smaller sewer pipe, not the trunk sewers that we talked about earlier. Some of this work was also related to the consent decree, or it was identified as part of the consent decree work. And in this program, they have a rough goal of about 25 miles per year. You heard earlier about the engineering support program increases intended to deal with all those projects that don't fall within the major project category or come up and need to be prioritized, or projects that are identified and then do become major projects over time. So WCC Water has identified a significant workload in their asset management program that is driving an increase in this level of effort. And if noted in the slide, some of the areas they're looking at to increase their effort. The Energy Performance Program is also seeing a large increase. Traditionally, this has been a program where they identify energy retrofits that have a short payback, and they even get a guaranteed payback through a purchase agreement with a third party. This project is now adding a greenhouse gas reduction climate action plan component to it. So you can see the second bullet talks about WCC's goal of reducing its greenhouse gas emissions. The county has its climate action plan. This reflects WSSC Water's, and it requires a significant investment of a number of other types of projects beyond what they were doing in the more routine energy performance program. So you see a significant increase over the 6-year period in this. And I have suggested in the packet that the committee get an update on this program after budget, since the committee's been deeply involved in the county's climate action plan, and WSSC Water did participate in that planning effort, but they have their own unique challenges on their end that would be useful for this committee to hear. WCC Water is also engaged in a water storage facility rehab program, and I've noted in the packet the order of projects. I don't have them on the slide here, but each of the projects costs about $7 million to do the full rehab work. And these tend to be in communities, so we do tend to hear from communities that either their storage facility needs work, or that the work is now ongoing, and it can be disruptive to the community. But interestingly, this project does not fit within what is considered a major capital project by the state, so it does fall within the information-only projects, and this reflects that expenditure stream through a year or so after the FY30 to complete the list of projects that were in the packet. I did want to also note on the executive's transmittal, he did not recommend any changes to WCC Water's proposed CIP. I mentioned we'll be getting a mid-cycle update shortly that we'll be taking up. I think OMB staff may be here to speak to any issues you may have or questions about the executive recommendation. But staff also preliminarily supports the proposed CIP as well. I've noted that we'll have to discuss the mid-cycle update. There are a number of issues I've identified in the packet, some I've mentioned today for discussion after budget. And also the system development charge, I think, is going to need to be reviewed as well. But staff is, with all that noted, staff is supportive of the CIP recommendation.
Thank you very much for the thorough report out, Mr. Lovchenko. Lot to look at, and I'm going to try and take a 30,000-foot level here. Two items that come to mind first. One is the AAA bond rating. So I see that Fitch noted, quote, the AAA bond rating considers WSSC a very strong, WSSC's water, very strong utility fundamentals. And so can one of you, Mr. Misara, maybe speak to what changed there, particularly with regard to the outlook, or what has been done internally over the last year or two?
So, as it relates to the outlook, we made a concerted effort to really understand some of the concerns that Fitch had. Part of it is they had said that they wanted the leverage to be comfortably under 10.
Say that again?
The leverage ratio to be comfortably under 10.
Got it.
And in the analysis that Fitch had, we had easily 60 hours of meetings just to really go through it and make sure that we're on the same page with our understanding of what our internal targets are as well as theirs, just to make sure that it was sustainable. Because what we didn't want to do was change our metrics to suit a model that we weren't going to be able to sustain. So that was part of it. And then also they had good confidence in the new leadership and the new management team. And our commissioners, the chair and vice chair, were there. They also we gave a narrative, because there were 3 main visits. The general manager, when she started last year in January, went. Then we had a surveillance in December. And then we had the new rating for the bonds in January. So what we did, we sort of said, this is what we're planning to do. with each subsequent visit, we said, this is what we've done. So we sort of have improved the transparency and are taking them on that journey, and we're letting them know what we've accomplished based on what we're doing, and they also appreciated that transparency and the candor we had in our communications.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like that those conversations, the dialogue, and the striving to be on the same page has paid off. So I appreciate that, and clearly this is moving us in the right direction. So glad to see that. The other question I have, moving a little further in that direction, on the page 5 in the packet, it is the 6-year outlook for the CIP, and the bottom line numbers are for the CIP changes, and it says for FY25 it'll increase 2.8%, then 11%, then a negative 1.6%, and then 9.1%, nearly a 10% increase. Can you explain that? How are you able to create an outlook with some swings in it like that?
I'll address that. So first of all, our CIP focus is on the immediate planning year, which is in this particular case fiscal year 25. Our outer years, there's a number of variables that do go into the planning, which causes some variation. Our overhead calculations for our capital staff, as well as the benefit cost assumptions, inflation projections, as well as various projects are coming to an end, new projects are starting, so therefore the overall, it's not a smooth ride second to the 6th year. And as we revise every 6-year CIP, we have a greater focus on the immediate next 2 to 3 years. So there is a variation in years 2 to 6. But we are very confident, of course, on the immediate year FY25.
Sure.
And we are trying to make sure that this variation is smoothed out. And one of the things we are doing is we are rebaselining our FY26 to 31 CIP. Effectively what it means is we are creating a CIP budget that is more realistic with our prior actuals, so that when you look at our request, when you look at our past performance, there's more similarity between the two sets of numbers, and it's easier to understand, and we would do a better job communicating what we want.
I appreciate that explanation. Not unlike other agencies or department CIPs, where a lot of the detail emphasis is front loaded, so not quite sure what's going to happen to the level of specificity in the out years, but I appreciate the what did you call it? A realigning of the baseline, or the rebaselining? Okay, very good. Thank you for that. I'll turn it over to colleagues. Question, Councilmember Stewart.
No, I just want to say those were my main questions as well. I just want to thank Mr. Lenko for going through the projects in detail, and thank all of you for your work. Keeping the AAA bond rating and working with Fitch is really, I think, important, and I appreciate your due diligence and all that. So thank you very much.
And underlining our support for this clearly is our commitment to having clean and safe drinking water, and not wanting to make any headlines by having any pipes burst. And so I know that's what you're all working towards. And so we appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And without objection, we'll support the WSSC recommendation. Yep. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lovchenko. Next up, I invite our DOT friends to join us. So this is the first official work session we are having on the Department of Transportation CIP or CIP projects within the transportation area. We're going to be having a number of other conversations in the ensuing weeks, but we figured we'd start with the easy ones. I know what I'm walking myself into when I say something like that, so I'm going to hold it to my colleagues to make sure that what I said was right. And so in addition to the consent projects, we'll walk through a number of these with Mr. Kenny, but the county executive's recommended CIP for transportation is approximately $1.7 billion over the next 6 years. And of that, about $900 million is for mass transit. And so these are all incredibly important. And while we started today's session talking about building energy performance standards, we know that our buildings emit about 52% of the carbon emissions here in Montgomery County, and our transportation sector emits about 40%. And so we'll bookend today's conversations by making the investments in our infrastructure, both physical and transportation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kenny. Director Conklin, any opening comments you want to make?
Sure. I'm very happy to begin this discussion about the capital improvement program. I think you have picked some of the easier ones to review today, but I'll never say
Thank you for validating
is easy, so I'm sure we'll have some lively discussion even on these. We're very happy to have a capital program that's funded at a relatively consistent level over the years, and you'll see that that's the case in this, although there are some adjustments between the categories which are related to specific large projects that were deferred in this particular CIP to make room for other priorities. It was also our first opportunity to work on these issues with Mr. Kenny. I'd like to thank him for his engagement with the department and meeting with us for many hours to review the various projects and their status. And by and large, it's a very good report that you'll see from him today. There are some minor corrections we'll make, I think, as we go through, and a couple of items that are, I think, predicting the future of what you might see in amendments that come from the executive that aren't actually reflected in the current CIP that's before you, but nonetheless they're giving you a sense of what may be coming in the commentary coming down the road. So we'll talk about those when they're before you.
Great. Mr. Kenny.
Thank you. Just to reiterate what Director Conklin said, the team at DOT has been extraordinarily helpful in walking through these projects line by line. I've received some corrections on some information here and there, even up until minutes before this work session. So I'll read some of them into the record, the ones that might impact this conversation, and release an updated staff report at a later date with all of them included to make sure we have all the right information. So today we'll be going over a brief overview of the transportation projects within this CIP, as well as diving into the mass transit projects. So that's what we'll be doing today. We have a second work session scheduled for March 4th to discuss the highway maintenance, traffic improvements, parking, and bridges subcategories, as well as a third work session scheduled for March 11th to discuss pedestrian facilities and bikeways, as well as roads. And then a fourth work session on March 18th for any outstanding items that needed follow-up or we didn't get to discussing in the first three. So in terms of an overview of the FY25-30 CIP, the transportation section, as you noted, there is the county executive is recommending an approval of $1.718 billion in expenditure over the 6-year period in the CIP, compared to $1.791 billion in the previously amended CIP. This is a decrease of $73 million, or 4.24% in expenditures. Breaking that down by subcategory, you see small increases to the highway maintenance, mass transit, bridges, and traffic improvements subcategories. I'll walk through those briefly where they come from, and we'll address them obviously in more detail at future work sessions. So for the mass transit, highway maintenance, and traffic improvement subcategories, a lot of those increases are coming from naturally occurring cost increases such as inflation or realities of construction, increased cost estimates. In the bridges subcategory, most of the increase comes from 4 new projects, 3 of which came out of the bridge design project. These are the Brookville Road Bridge, the Redland Road Bridge, and the Schaefer Road Bridge, and then the off-lane pedestrian bridge, which came out of the pedestrian program. In addition, most of the increases to the parking subcategory can be accounted for in 3 new projects, which cover security camera surveillance systems in the Bethesda, Silver Spring, and Wheaton parking lot districts. So that's where some of the increases come from. Now, obviously, the transportation CIP has a net decrease, and where you're seeing a lot of that is in the pedestrian facilities and bikeways and roads subcategories. We'll discuss these in more detail on March 11th, but in the packet there's a brief overview of the projects from which most of those decreases are coming. You have any questions on that overview before we dive into mass transit? All right. So jumping into the mass transit subcategory of the transportation CIP, I've laid out 6 consent projects. These are projects with no or minimal changes to the funding and timing of these projects. I will note that the bus rapid transit minor projects, bus rapid transit system development, bus stop improvements, and intelligent transit systems projects actually do have brief cost increases solely to do with the addition of the out years in this CIP, FY29 and 30, as well as minor timing changes in the Burtonsville Park and Ride improvements and Purple Line projects that have to do with realities of design and construction on the ground. And I guess I'll keep rolling if you want to stop me on anything.
So we will continue to agree unless there's an objection.
Great. So moving on to the Bethesda Metro Rail Station South entrance. This project will provide for a long-planned southern entrance to the Bethesda Metro Station near the corner of Wisconsin Avenue and Elm Street, also connecting to the future Bethesda Purple Line station. In the packet, I noted that there was a cost increase due to grant and a corrected scope. That is incorrect. There is a cost increase of $11.6 million from the previously approved CIP, but it is due to an updated cost estimate from WMATA. This is a project that the county is contractually obligated to complete with WMATA as part of their agreement on capital improvements. Council staff recommends concurring with the executive. I'll turn it over to DOT in case they have anything they'd like to add.
I don't know that we've talked about this project in detail with this constitution of the committee before, but there's this host of projects that the county is building or funding along with the Purple Line. The vast majority of those we're providing the funding to MTA directly, and MTA led the design and is leading the construction of that through the Purple Line concessionaire. This project is a little bit different in that we are responsible for funding work being constructed by WMATA through design-build contractor. That funding is ultimately going through the Purple Line as well, like all the other projects, but we don't have a defined agreement on scope and cost with MTA from the Purple Line agreement. So there's a cost exposure here that's continued to evolve over the last several years. And at this point, there is a design-level estimate from WMATA. They still do not yet have a final construction cost estimate, which they'll get from the design builder once that's engaged. And we think they're procuring that this summer. And our friends from WMATA are here. They probably can confirm that. But we think that they're leading that design build procurement this summer.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the Boyd's Transit Center project. This project will construct a new bus loop, parking lot, and comfort station for bus operators at the Boyd's Mark station. This project has increased in cost by about $1.5 million from the last amended CIP due to construction cost inflation, the addition of a comfort station for bus operators, as well as the addition of stabilization design efforts for the historic site of Hoyle's Mill, which is on the project site. This has been part of an ongoing conversation with the Historic Preservation Commission. To develop what this element of the scope of the project will be. I know DOT has some further detail that they'd like to provide.
Yeah, we are getting near construction for this project, and again, it's an expansion of the parking area and a bus loop to allow bus service from Clarksburg to this location, which is a shorter bus trip for those passengers than going elsewhere to get on Mark. We've got an indication from the Historic Preservation Commission that they would like to see the mill stabilized before we do any site work on the site. We don't currently have funding for the stabilization of the mill, although we do have, if you were to approve this budget, the funding for the remainder of the work. So at this point in time, we're doing design activities for the stabilization, but we don't have any funding to implement that, and we may need that before we apply for the historic area work permit, because we've got an indication that that permit won't be approved if we don't do the stabilization in advance of the construction. We think that stabilization work is a $300,000 to $500,000 exposure, but we don't yet have a firm estimate on that. So if we approve this as is, we may not be able to move forward without that stabilization. We may need to move project elements around in order to do the stabilization and do what we can with the remaining funds for this work. Or perhaps the Historic Commission won't require the stabilization before issuing the permit. We don't yet know the outcome of all those. So there's still a little bit of uncertainty here, and that's causing a little bit of delay in this project as we work those issues out.
Is the site unstable?
The site is unstable. It's a very old building. It has...
I wasn't expecting such a candid response, but okay.
Well, the site itself is stable, but the building on the site
Sure.
is not stable. The foundation is deeply compromised, and the building itself is in a fairly advanced state of disrepair. So the first thing that needs to be done is stabilizing the foundation, shoring up the structural system of the building, and making the building weather tight. There is no plan at this point in time to rehabilitate the structure and turn it into a usable structure, but just to keep it there in its current form so that if at a later date it is reused, it's available and we don't lose the historic asset that it is through the natural forces bringing it down.
Councilmember Balcombe.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the discussion about the mill. The mill is an important historic building in Germantown. Germantown, as most people don't know, is an historic community. It was a railroad town. This mill is literally right on the doorstep of the Mark Rail, the community is concerned about any major construction happening right next to the mill. And when I say right next to the mill, I mean it is right next to the mill. And so I appreciate that the discussion. I would hope that we can have funds to do the stabilization.
So where does that leave us with regard to this PDF if we're in a holding pattern regarding historic preservation or funding to accommodate the needs of?
Yeah, council staff's recommendation to concur with the executive and approve this current expenditure schedule is because that puts DOT in the best position in this holding pattern. Obviously, we won't know the full scope of the project until the permitting process is worked out with the HPC, but this puts the, I'll turn it over to
Director
DOT.
Conklin, would that be an amendment, a further amendment, or a supplemental of some sort?
If we get a requirement to stabilize the mill, we're going to need to find some additional funds to do that. Again, we think it's probably in the $300,000 to $500,000 range. Alternatively, we can look to change some of the scope elements that are part of the project, but then those are costs we are going to incur later on. Okay. The one scenario we've looked at is doing the rough-in for the comfort facility and installing it at a later date, but then we still have to bear that cost when we go to put the bus service in at that location. So,
I just thank you. I just want to go back to the original the project. This is probably the most simple I know you won't agree with me, but the most simple way to provide transit from Clarksburg directly to the MARC station. I mean, it's right down one road, and it's really a very it's a great way to provide significant transit opportunity directly to the MARC train station, and it just so happens that it's right next to this important site. So thank you.
Okay, we can move on.
Great. This is the Bus Rapid Transit Maryland 355 Central project. This is part of the broader effort to create a bus rapid transit corridor for the all up and down Maryland 355. This central portion is broken off from its northern and southern components because it is further along in design. And so, for the purposes of applying for federal grants, it's its own project. So this portion will design and construct a new BRT line on Maryland 355 between Rockville and Germantown. It will also include the design, and I'll note design, I indicated construction in the original report. It's just the design of new transit centers at Montgomery College, Rockville, and the former Lake Forest Mall in Gaithersburg. The preliminary engineering and environmental documentation for the project will be completed in FY24, with final design procured in FY25 and construction estimated to be completed in FY29. I will note, in terms of the variety of funding sources that this project is drawing upon, the opportunity lanes funding from the state is less certain in terms of how it will eventually pan out, as MDOT, as the state DOT has yet to define the new scope of the opportunity lanes project. But DOT is still proceeding with the Council of Governments record of decision in terms of how that opportunity lanes funding will come into this project. Because that is a less certain funding source, you'll see that the state capital grants and federal aid portions of the funding are pushed earlier into the project schedule, and the opportunity lanes are pushed further out. I also like to note that in the packet where I originally indicated that the FTA's requirements and processes are the source of the 1-year delay in this expenditure schedule. That is incorrect. The delays are from realities on the ground, project schedule delays, and updated schedule from DOT. But I'll turn it over for more detail.
Yeah, and some of the delays are frankly related to the funding uncertainty, as we've looked to get all of the state grant funds that were pledged in the last 2 legislative sessions secured, and you're probably all aware those grant awards were finally made about 2 weeks ago at the Board of Public Works. We've been working really hard to actually get the promised money available, and now a bunch of it is available, and that has led to a few project delays in these BRT projects as the staff has been focused both on looking at financial scenarios based on the likelihood of each of these funding sources materializing, and working with the State Department of General Services and others to get the money in hand that was provided by the legislature.
All of that makes sense, and again, recognizing the uncertainty, just looking at the PDF, that uncertainty resulting in a 50% decrease in FY25 and 63% decrease in FY26. So appreciate you articulating that, and we can move on.
Great. Moving on to the other portion of the Maryland 355 Bus Rapid Transit project. The northern the southern segment of this project will run from Montgomery College Rockville campus, where Central picks up, down to the Bethesda Metro Station, and the northern segment will run from the northern portion of that central segment at Montgomery College Germantown up to Clarksburg. This project also includes the design for a new transit center in Clarksburg to be funded by that. We were talking about the opportunity lanes funding, which, again, as we were talking about before, remains uncertain. So a lot of those dynamics are at play in this project as well. Although this project is not quite as far along as the central portion is. But at the same time, the portions of the project that are funded by state aid capital grants, which are more certain, are further ahead in the project in FY25 and 26, while the Clarksburg Transit Center design is scheduled for FY27 and for FY28.
It probably makes sense to just revisit the overall strategy for the 355 corridor for the committee's benefit. It's a 22-mile corridor. We're completing the design activities up to preliminary engineering for the entirety of the corridor. We're in the process of developing a progressive design build request for proposals that we expect to advertise and then bring on a design build contractor. That contractor will have the benefit of the preliminary engineering for the entirety of the corridor. The contract would allow that contractor to implement the entirety of the corridor, and the pieces that we award for construction will be related to the funding that we have availability for, so that we can implement that central corridor first when we have the funding all lined up and more certain for that. And if we have more funding available, we can do the whole project at once. If we have less, we'll have to look at scaling that initial project that we worked with the planning department and others to confirm that was the right limits for that first project a couple of years ago. But we are working through these issues, and we're hoping to have the most seamless process to deliver the whole quarter, knowing that we don't have the funding lined up to accomplish the whole scope at one time.
Thank you for bringing back that to the council. I'm not sure we've talked about it in the last year or so in this council. We talked about it a lot in the previous council, and I'll use this as an opportunity to re-up what I've long thought, and it has been, I recognize the need for the central part, and I also strongly believe that we need to prioritize the northern part as quickly as possible because it is a transit desert of sort. And with the other uncertainties that are out there regarding statewide transportation projects, we need to provide the people, the residents of Up County, with more opportunities. And so I'm going to go along with your recommendation for the central part first, but as we move forward, and should there be other fiscal challenges, and we'll have to make tough decisions between the north or the south, I am going to emphasize the northern part because that's where the need really, really is. So. Councilmember Balcombe? Oh. Yeah, you're good.
I just have one question, Mr. Kane, since I know you said you were going to update the packet. In the second paragraph, it says the project also includes construction of a new transit. I think it should be design, right?
That's one of the
No, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Great. And so I'll just ask one more clarifying question for Director Conklin and the team. The idea right now is to do the north and south at the same time if funding allows. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. We are doing the preliminary engineering to get everything advanced to the same level so that we can do this design build approach. We're also doing the NEPA analysis for the entirety of the corridor so that it's all available for federal funding application. The affordability is really going to derive what is accomplished when we get to that point. The north component is far, far less expensive than the south component, like 1/10 of the expenditure. So it is possible that we could do a central and north project. It is possible that we could do a central and south project or an entire project, but the most likely scenario would be central plus north, just based on affordability, and unless there are additional revenues that are coming from some source that we don't currently know of, like a change in the way that Transportation Trust Fund at the state level is organized, or a change in the way the county transportation CIP sources are organized. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about
all of that's in the mix.
So all of those things will inform what's ultimately possible here. It is important to note that the delegation has been working hard on legislation in this General Assembly session related to a state lottery bus rapid transit funding program. Right now, we have not obligated many of the funds that we're anticipating from that program in the CIP, because we've received an award for FY23 due to some errors in the way the bills were written. We did not receive an award in 24. We don't really expect we will in 25, and then if the legislation that's currently pending passes, we should have a much more consistent revenue concept for this, and then we can have a better idea about how to program those revenues into these projects. But at the moment, we're holding back from programming more of those funds until we actually know what the outcomes of that process will look like and what the expected revenues are.
Okay. And that's separate from the bonding?
Separate from the state bond bill, separate from any local funding.
Yep.
It's another state source that's available for these projects that we're going to, in the future, be able to obligate to the various projects.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you for that. Mr. Kenny?
Great. Moving on to another bus rapid transit project. This one is the second phase of the US 29 Columbia Pike bus rapid transit project. This project will design and implement a dedicated lane for bus rapid transit in the median of US 29 between Tech Road and Sligo Creek Parkway to improve travel time and service reliability for passengers. The CIP reflects doesn't change a whole lot, just reflects a 1-year delay for the project with preliminary engineering. And I'll note preliminary engineering. I noted in the packet originally that the entire project would be completed in FY25. It's just the preliminary engineering. So FY25 instead of the prior FY24 completion date. Not much else to say about that project. It's proceeding basically as expected.
Right. There's been a lot of back and forth on this project over the years, and residents, of which I'm one, so my neighbors, continue to contend that we need this project to move forward in a way that the pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure is able to be accommodated. Director Conklin, how do these funds help mitigate some of those different concerns, recognizing that the right-of-way is so narrow, if there is any at all, in some of those parts?
So that's a very good question. There are 3 components of that pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure associated with this corridor. I'm trying to remember when it was. It was probably 2018 timeframe. We did a phase 2 study for US 29. The major outcome of that first phase 2 study was identifying all of the pedestrian bike network requirements to access the stations that are along US 29. And we'll see it in another day's work, but the council has a program for implementing pedestrian and bike improvements serving the US 29 bus rapid transit corridor that there's already a program established for. There's a second set of projects that would be implemented with this, which are smaller scale pedestrian and bike improvements immediately along the corridor that would be necessary by us reconstructing US 29. So those will be directly embedded in this project. There's a third set of improvements that are larger scale master plan type improvements, like, as you're aware, there's been a lot of discussion about creating a separate bike facility along US 29 sort of from the Four Corners area across the northwest branch. We're doing very preliminary concept level and cost estimating work as part of this, and if there's funding available, those projects can be added to this effort or stand on their own. But we should have an idea of the viability of those projects and the cost implications of those projects as a result of this engineering effort. And again, this is only going through preliminary engineering. There is no other funding currently proposed to advance this project, but I would imagine there would be interest in doing that once we have a better sense for what the project costs are.
Great. And I know Councilmember Stewart, Councilmember Mink, and the District 20 delegation largely have been involved in all these conversations with you and SHA because, again, incredibly important making this investment and making sure that it is holistic in its transportation needs. So thank you for that. I'm not seeing any comments. Oh, yeah. Ms. Rowland.
Mr. Chair, there is a project that was added to the CIP in FY23, US 29 pedestrian and bicycle improvements. That is one of the projects that Director Conklin talked about that complements. Some of that work is already underway in terms of design, more or less a level of effort project that will continue to add to and expand out those capabilities.
Great.
We'll be talking
We'll
about
get that in a
in
few
2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Great.
All right. Moving on to the another bus rapid transit project. This one on Veers Mill Road. This one is this project will design and construct a new bus rapid transit line on Veers Mill Road between the Wheaton Metro Station and Montgomery College in Rockville. Final design for this project began in FY23 and will be completed by mid FY25. Property acquisition activities are estimated to begin for this project in FY24, and construction is anticipated to start in FY25 and be completed by FY27. Buses for this BRT corridor will be purchased in FY27 with possible efficiencies created by utilizing bus procurement funding from the hydrogen fuel cell charging center project that we'll talk about later. This route will have hydrogen buses. Not where they'll come from is not certain yet, but that is a possible connection. Federal aid from this project comes from the Small Starts Capital Investment, or should be capital improvement grants administered by the Federal Transit Administration. The project schedule is in line with what has been approved previously, so no changes in funding or timeline.
So this is one of the projects where you're getting a little glimpse into the future. We've been working with our project team and the Federal Transit Administration on the federal funding applications for these. And given the increase in scope for the pedestrian and bike improvements, we're running up against the cost cap for the Small Starts program. So we're looking at moving some of the bus purchases, as Mr. Kenny suggested, out of the project itself and combining them with the hydrogen fuel cell grant that we have to get the most benefit from the federal funding for the county as we have. But again, you may see an amendment to this project that reflects those changes and some other changes about the expected federal local cost share to keep this moving forward. And I think you will see those changes coming forward in March, but they're not quite done yet.
Great. And I'm just looking at the project description and just want to confirm that this is envisioned to have dedicated lanes?
It's a combination of dedicated lanes and queue jumps along the corridor. It is about a 40% dedicated lane implementation. So that's the project that's been advanced since the council action on selecting alternative. I think it was 2A or something. That was a combination of queue jumps and other priority treatments. That back in the facility planning stage, median busway and full curb busway had been evaluated, but this was the alternative that was recommended at the time.
Thank you. Mr. Kay?
All right, so moving to the facility planning mass transit project. This is a level of effort project that would normally go into the sort of the consent projects consideration. But I did want to note that there is a substantial increase in FY28 and FY29 above the normal level of effort for this project, and that is to fund planning of the Metropolitan Grove Park and Ride. Great. Moving on to the Great Seneca Science Corridor Transit Improvements Project. This project is advancing the planning, design, and implementation of the Great Seneca Transit Network. This network is a 4-route network intended to provide transit connections to and around the Life Sciences Center. The construction of the Pink Line and Lime Line, two of those 4 routes, is set to be completed in FY24. But there are some dynamics and progressing discussions at play with the municipalities that this transit plan runs through, and I'll turn it over to DOT to run through how those discussions have progressed.
These are financial hand-wringing discussions, not so much project implementation. But you're probably aware of the Impact Tax Fund. There are 3 different accounts in that fund for transportation. There's one that's associated with projects in the county, and then there's one each for the city of Gaithersburg and Rockville. So all of those transportation impact funds are county funds to be used to implement transportation improvements. The accounts for the city of Rockville and Gaithersburg are intended to be used for projects that benefit those 2 cities, and there's memorandum of understanding with each city on how those get used. So funds are programmed in this project from those 2 city accounts, but the MOUs, we have not yet achieved an agreement on updating the MOUs that would allow you to appropriate those funds. Of course, you could appropriate the funds anyway, but they wouldn't then be consistent with the MOU. We've made good progress with the 2 cities, but we have not yet reached agreement on this with the 2 cities. and it may limit our ability to finish the construction of the improvements in the two cities if we're unable to get everything done with the funds we have from the unrestricted sources here. So we're still trying to get to the goal line here and get the whole project done this summer, but we are having this issue with the impact tax accounts and those funds not being appropriated at this time.
Can you share what the sticking points are, or?
Because
Because they are the two most amenable cities I know of, right?
So, there's a history of, I think, mistrust around this program that goes back to its inception. And the real issue is who's controlling the funds. So the county believes that these are county funds leveraged under county tax authority to deal with impacts to the transportation system of the county, which is not limited to the boundaries of the two cities. The two cities want to make sure that they have the ability to use these funds specifically for the projects that they would like to see implemented in their two cities. I think there is a place to come to agreement here. We've had a discussion with the city of Gaithersburg. It's like, can we agree that the county will use these for transit-related improvements, since the county is the city's transit provider and the county needs transit facilities in the cities in order to do that. The cities largely manage the streets and the pedestrian bike infrastructure, so we'll figure out roughly what's a reasonable way to divide this money so that you can do the things that are within your domain and we'll do the things that aren't in your domain. I'm hopeful that that framework works itself out so that we can all then agree how to work together to get this work done. But it's been a long time trying to get to that. It's, I think, 2 councils ago that this last came before you with MOUs that were then rejected by the council because the county did not have enough control over the funds in that prior council's view. And we've been wrestling with this for a good 6-8 years since. Emma likes to tell me I thought I could solve this and I haven't yet solved it. But I think we might get there in this cycle. We've had more progress than we have recently, and the city of Rockville has also come to us with a new proposal that is better but not quite where we want to get to solve the problem.
The background is helpful, and for an issue that's near and dear to former Mayor Stewart's heart, this is the exact opposite of tax duplication, in where the municipalities are choosing not to go above and beyond because they know that these fees are already being incurred. Now they just want a little to participate and have a little say, and so I trust you will find an amicable resolution. Otherwise, we'll get involved.
It's been elusive for a long time,
Okay.
and I hope we can.
Slightly more productive than White's Ferry discussion.
I'm going to withhold comment from that. Councilmember Balcombe.
If you just jinxed us, you're in trouble. Just as a reminder, this transit, in the Great Seneca Science Corridor transit improvement is really in lieu of the Corridor Cities Transitway. And so this is really a very important project, as they all are, of course. What if time continues to go by and we don't have an agreement? How can we move this project forward?
I don't like sounding this way, but it will sound this way. We're going to construct all the facilities that are in the county, and we're going to have them done most likely this summer. And pending action on the operating budget, we're going to be funded to operate the service. And we have vehicles in hand that we can begin operating the service with. They're not the vehicles we want because of procurement-related delays with bus manufacturer. But it's our intention to start this service this summer. It may be that the service isn't serving all the stations when it started.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the hydrogen fuel cell buses and fueling site project. This project is managed primarily by the County Department of General Services. I see a representative from DGS coming over here now. This project will implement implement green hydrogen technology in transit for the first time in the state of Maryland. The new hydrogen fuel production and fueling station will operate at the county's existing MTOC center in Gaithersburg. This facility will power the county's first 13 hydrogen fuel cell electric buses, which will be procured also as part of this project. The project is all the funding you see on this project form is funded by federal aid via the Federal Transit Administration's Low or No Emission Vehicle Program. The county is matching these funds with funding of its own, and those matching funds are contained currently within the Ride on Bus Fleet project. This is a new project, and turn it over to DOT or DGS to follow up.
I'll let Mr. Jones speak to it.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you guys know, the hydrogen bus project is essential for addressing some of the range concerns associated with electrifying and bringing our transit fleet to zero emissions. The project itself is a two-phase project in which the renewable energy is going to be provided via microgrid, which is a P3 project, which is currently in the permitting phase, 90% design. So construction is scheduled to begin this coming May, with completion in May of next year, May 2025. Right after that, the construction of the hydrogen station is scheduled to take place. So starting in approximately April, it's scheduled to start in approximately April 2025 and be finished in approximately 6 months. We've been moving forward. The microgrid itself is a 5 megawatts of solar powering a 1 megawatt electrolyzer to produce the hydrogen to produce the green hydrogen to run the buses that will be procured under this grant. So, yes.
And we do have the FTA grant agreement in place for this project.
Very good. The work session we had on this a few weeks ago was very informative, so looking forward to codifying it even further by approving this.
Yep.
So.
All right, moving on to the new transit maintenance depot project. This is another DGS project. It provides for the planning and design of a new transit bus depot with construction to come later once funding sources have been identified. The new depot will accommodate up to 255 buses and include capabilities for bus maintenance and repair, washing, vaulting, charging and fueling, storage, and employee parking. This most recent request from the county executive doubles the total project cost from $2 million to $5.5 million to allow for enhanced community outreach activities, as the need to be strategic in identifying funding sources and working with the community has led to increased costs in terms of community engagement and planning. We've talked about this project before and how it is the funding for the depot is split between this project and the MCPS bus depot and maintenance relocation project within the county offices and other improvements subcategory of this CIP. This will be subject to future discussions as well, but to talk just more directly about what we're dealing with today in terms of this requested CIP, I'll turn it over to DOT and DGS to...
I'll start just to talk about why it's so important that we move this quickly. We have a leased facility at Nicholson Court that's not really meeting our needs and will not allow us to get to zero emission. We're not allowed to change the basic structure of that facility. So this depot accommodates relocation of that, which is about a 70 to 80 bus operation. In addition to that, we're going to max our fleet capacity with Bus Rapid Transit very soon. We can probably do one, maybe 1.5 more projects, and we have no more scope to do that. We also need to have the zero emissions capabilities there. We've been looking for sites. We haven't found very many suitable sites. We have located this one that we've been working with Mr. Assant and his team. There are federal programs out there for funding the design and construction related work here, the Bus and Bus Facilities Program. Sitting here today, we're not in a position to apply for that because we don't yet have a site plan, we don't have a record of community engagement, we don't have all the things we need to have to start to seek that money. In addition to that, there are other opportunities to fund this with land sale proceeds and all kinds of other things. So there's a lot we have to do to get the basic platform here established so that we can develop the financial and implementation plan. And I'll let Greg speak a little bit more to the overall strategy about this property and the work that's going on under DGS's direction to get us into the right place.
Good afternoon, Greg Austin, DGS. So in addition to all of the issues that Director Conklin described, as you are very well aware, we have been struggling for many years trying to find a replacement facility for the MCPS operation at Krabs Branch, or more what we commonly refer to as Jeremiah Park, which is the east side of Crabs Branch. So late last year, in light of all of the issues that Chris has mentioned, and in light of all of the ongoing frustration with the MCPS facility, we began talking to the community about how to proceed. My director, David Dice, director of DGS, is a bit of a regular at the Shady Grove Implementation Advisory Committee meetings. He meets with them at least quarterly, sometimes more frequently. And they discuss the concept of simply doubling down on Jeremiah Park and seeing if we could come up with a plan that accommodated both MCDOT's long-range plans, MCPS's long-range plans in a shared co-located facility there at Jeremiah Park, coupled with the mixed-use development that the Shady Grove master plan envisioned, in addition to a park site and a school site that the master plan envisioned. So that discussion actually went pretty well with the community. They were anxious and interested to hear more. That is what some of these resources will be devoted to. DGS has acquired design expertise from a land planner and community engagement firm. Starting next month, we'll begin a series of listening sessions, visioning workshops, and community planning workshops and open houses with the community, with our stakeholders in both MCPS, MCDOT, and as well as many other agencies, including WMATA, to further the idea or concept of building a new depot, co-located depot there at Jeremiah Park with all of the surrounding mixed-use development that the community would like to see. So we will have a lot more detail in upcoming weeks. We will have a website populated with a schedule and all of the activities that we're going to be engaged in, and of course council will be invited to all of those activities. But we will continue to move forward, and as staff has noted, there is another CIP project that you will see in the DGS portfolio that is also devoted towards this effort. And so that is a short range plan, but the long term is to have a facility up and running by 2030.
Thank you for that debrief. We are aware of the other PDF within DGS, and as Mr. Kenny alluded to, we are aware of the interplay between these two projects and the importance of them, and I know it has not been easy to try and find and locate a suitable space. And so what we are going to do as a body is there will be a joint T&E and Education and Culture Committee work session in the coming weeks because of the MCPS component, and so we will have that joint committee and talk about both of these projects holistically. But I know my colleagues are all looking forward to some resolution so that the original vision of the Shady Grove master plan and the metro site can be fulfilled. So thank you for your ongoing efforts.
Great. Moving on to the North Bethesda Metro Station northern entrance. This project provides for the county's contribution to the to a new north entrance to the North Bethesda Metro Station, formerly known as the White Flint Metro Station, for the purposes of tracking this CIP project. Access is currently limited at the Metro Station to the southern end of the platform. The only change in this CIP is that the beginning of construction has been delayed from FY26 to FY27 to give WMATA more time to select a development partner for the area around the northern portion of the station. We don't know yet what the full project cost will be. WMATA is working on new cost estimates. But in the meantime, DOT, and I'll let them provide an update on where they're looking to, source funding sources beyond, the county, and then working with WMATA and the Maryland Department of Transportation, as well as developer contributions.
Sure. So thank you, Stephen. There's a bunch of elements here. We actually have a raised grant application for this project that's going to be submitted tomorrow. We've worked closely with MDOT, who's been the funding partner for the application, and WMATA, who's provided all the technical assistance to develop the application. We are presenting that application with a project cost of $47 million for the station entrance, enabling an overbuild of a multi-story, multi-use building above that metro station. The RAISE grant itself, would, if awarded, will provide about $25 million of that $47 million that's needed. About $18.5 million is available in hand in different sources. So there's a county CIP for station access improvements. There's a county CIP for station infrastructure development. And there's the county CIP for the station itself. So those sources combined, and a number of those elements are funded by state grant sources as well, come to about $18.6 million, leaving us with about $3.5 million needed to complete that $47 million budget. We expect that the governor's passage of the state budget this year will close that gap so that we'll have a fully funded project. If that's the case and we get additional aid, because we also have some congressional earmarks possible for this and maybe other state aid in future year, we can start to pivot some of the other funds back to enable more of the infrastructure with the redevelopment site. But it looks like we're in good shape for this RAISE grant application and having a funded project. And I know some folks from WMATA are here if they'd like to talk about the broader plans for the redevelopment of that site. But it is intended to be that this is the front door to the redevelopment of the whole WMATA site, which is otherwise not terribly visible or accessible from Rockville Pike. So there's effort underway to secure a master developer in partnership with the county to get the rest of the project redevelopment moving.
And I see Mr. Scott. I welcome he and or his team if there's anything that you want to add. But Director Conklin, am I correct in that this is the first time there's a grant, or at least a prospect of a grant for this?
Yes, this is
project?
the first time we have sought a federal infrastructure grant for this project.
Right, because going back to previous councils, I'll say the question has been whether the county should act alone and do what we need to do, recognizing that new entrance is really important to unlocking the growth and potential of that site. And it was a sizable amount of money every year, and I'm glad to see that it is in this CIP, right? I should have started it with it that way, but that is only because, I presume, because of these the grant opportunities.
Well, and to your point, a significant amount of state aid flowed to this project in the last two sessions, and this federal grant opportunity is now viable because we have a foreseeable gap that we can close. Before, we didn't have that circumstance.
That's right. Yeah. Hi. Hit your button.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Andy Scott, I'm a Senior Real Estate Advisor with Metro's Office of Real Estate and Development. I don't have much to add from what the Director said, other than that this is some context, that this is a part of a bigger initiative on our part, our collaboration with the county. We are preparing to issue a developer solicitation for the property that we have at North Bethesda. It's about 13 acres. It's a very sizable development opportunity, and we're working closely with the county executive's office and Montgomery DOT, planning for the solicitation to attract a developer that will build a life science anchored mixed-use development. So we think this is sort of the corner of Main and Main. This will be a great project if the funding comes through. So we're happy to be working with the county on this, and if there are any questions, happy to answer those.
Great, and I'm glad to hear that the RFP will be specific towards the usage of that property, because I think that's the correct usage for it. Councilmember Stewart.
No, I just want to say thank you. I'm glad we're at this point. I think when we were going through the CIP last year, we did have to push a little to get some funding in here, but I think that dedication on the county's part was really important last year to secure state funding and also to show our dedication to our partners at WMATA. So I'm glad we're at this place, and fingers crossed for that RAISE grant, but looking forward to this project moving forward. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Great. All right, moving on to the Ride-On Bus Fleet project. This was considered. This project was considered as the portion of it as a supplemental appropriation by this committee in its joint capacity with the Government Operations Committee on last Thursday, February 22nd. That supplemental appropriation appropriates all of the funding that you see here in this expenditure schedule through FY26, as that is the procurement schedule set out in the contract that Ride-On is planning to enter into with this appropriation in hand. That supplemental appropriation is scheduled for action on Tuesday, March 5th, this upcoming or next week. So that appropriation, solidifies the project expenditures through FY26, but FY27 and after are new in terms of being considered in front of this committee now. So you'll see, there's you've got the funding through FY26, and then a pretty significant jump to $69 million in FY27. And then extending through FY29, you can sort of see the 3-year contract cycles or procurement schedules for the Ride-On buses. Right now, what you're seeing here is a major leap that Ride-On is making in terms of the electrification of its fleet. This contract that will go through FY26 will procure approximately 100 buses, with the rest to come through maybe 2 or 3 more contracts. I'm happy to have any corrections from DOT, but this is my understanding of through starting in FY27 and then going through about past FY30. So that's what you have here, and happy to let DGS talk more about it.
Yes, the transition, what you see before you is a schedule of transition of the bus fleet to zero emissions. As Mr. Kinney stated, it's going to be multiple contract sessions in order to achieve a goal. Originally, the 3-year cycle was chosen because the technology was evolving so rapidly, and we didn't want to be at a position. We didn't want to be at a place where we specified a vehicle that would be obsolete as the technology shifted. So that's the reason you see the 3-year intervals. FTA does allow us some flexibility if we decided to extend some of those contract sessions out to as far as 5 years, but that's the maximum associated with FTA. But that's what that represents in the strategy that we took in developing it.
Great. Thank you. I know this is all fresh on our minds since we just had that conversation, so thank you.
All right. And then on to the last project that we'll consider today is the fare equipment replacement project. This is again for Ride-On, their fare equipment. This project provides for the purchase and replacement of fare collection equipment, including vaults, bins, fare boxes, and validators for buses in the Ride-On fleet. The cost increase that you're seeing in this project provides for ramped up fare box replacements in FY 25, 26, and 27. Council staff recommends concurring with the executive unless DOT has anything to add or any questions.
So the conversation we had last week, right, there we go. Fresh in our mind. So talking about new ways for riders to pay for their fares. We had a lengthy conversation about an app that would be in development if the funding is approved. How does that process and the app work with these fare replacements? Yeah, Phil, just there.
Yeah, Phil McLaughlin, DOT. We're not sure yet. That question you brought to us last week, I mean, that's something we need to consider. If there's a need to reduce the fare boxes, I'm not sure that's exactly. We envisioned the original app as a supplemental to paying on the bus, not necessarily a replacement. So that we're still investigating that question that we had last week.
Okay, and if I'm looking at the PDF, it's 8 million or is it 1 million? No, it's 8.3 million over 6 years.
Over time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for the cash handling component as well.
Right. So I know you're looking into some of the questions we asked for that app, but let's add this to that mix as well, wanting to make sure that any additional spending that we allocate it's holistic in its approach.
So one element for you to think about before that conversation happens again is that these fare box replacements are consistent with the regional fare system. They're not something unique that Ride-On is doing, but they're mirroring the capabilities on the Metro bus system so that we have a unified network. So we're not doing our own thing here, although we've talked about could we do our own thing more affordably, but we think it's important to stay with the regional integration in the fare system.
I think Director Conklin, we talked about this last Thursday, and one of the questions that we had at that session was whether or not the federal grant could be repurposed, and that's, I think, the main question. I think we completely agree with you. Because I think that was the main thing that the committee said, is that we want to make sure that we're compatible with the region, and the gist of where the conversation went is, why don't we stay with what we know and expand that versus going out on our own. But I think there's a lot of work that's going to be done.
Yes.
But I think we agree with that.
And one of the things we learned based on the discussion last week is that the WMATA app payment system was newer than that grant. So that was developed by us and looking and seeing a hole that needed to be filled rather than anything else. But we'll look at all the questions that came up last week.
I should also mention too, these fare boxes are really close to the end of their useful life. These are almost, some of them almost 20 years old. Others are a little younger than that, but these are pretty old functioning machines that are failing on a pretty regular basis. So we want to keep that in mind as we're considering other options.
To that point, WMATA has already made the decision. Most other jurisdictions have already proceeded on with their fare box replacements. WMATA is also going to be terminating support on the existing fare box capability. So it's a matter of trying to have the parts around that you can Frankenstein the boxes to keep them going for a few more years. We came with the amendment last year the executive sent over to get the vaults and get underway with a handful of boxes to start doing integration and testing, and this just adds to it along with what would get replaced in the bus fleet themselves.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'm sure we all agree that the issue isn't whether we want the fare boxes, and we need the fare boxes and support the fare boxes. It's just the issue is based on the conversation we had to make sure that we're not siloed in these two discussions. And I know with technology changing so quickly, we don't have any guarantee of what's coming next. But right now, we're looking at two SIP systems that we need to make sure that they're compatible.
And this is the regional system.
Good. Well said, colleagues. And that is it for today, right, Mr. Kenny?
That's right.
Okay, and it only gets easier from here, right, Mr. Kenny?
Knocking on wood, both hands.
There we go. Thank you to DOT, OMB, DGS, and WMATA as well for joining us this afternoon. Good discussions. Let's just formally approve CIP. There we go. High five at the end of the CIP process. Thank you all, and with that, we're adjourned.